Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Girls in Leadership panel. I'm really excited to introduce our speakers today. We have some fantastic girls in STEM here to present about what they've learned and their positions in leadership. So whenever you guys are ready, let's take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Alice Vandervoort, and I'm the Team 1403 co-captain. So before we start, I want to give a little bit of info about, just a little bit about me in case you guys want context for the questions we'll ask later in the panel. But here we go. All right, so for context, I'm a senior and I'm from New Jersey, all the way on the East Coast, and I will be majoring in bioinformatics and computational biology next year. So when I'm not doing robotics and running around like a chicken with his head cut off, I tend to like reading books from the 70s and teaching my rabbit new tricks. His name's Ezekiel. All right, so obviously, books and rabbits aren't exactly what we're here to talk about. So, in terms of leadership experience and context, I've been on my robotics team for 4 years now, and I've had two positions in that time. My junior year, I was robot manager, and a lot of that leadership experience came with learning to trust myself and having both creativity and responsibility. And so I did a lot of keeping the building process on track, scheduling, organizing, also assuring quality control. So, a little bit of error here or there on a bot can end up costing you a game. So, every single drawing, every part, that would go through me, and that would always allow a certain level of quality in order to keep our subsystems in check. I also developed a new prototyping process along with some other admin in order to have a more data-driven prototyping process. So in that case, what that would entail is using the data from various different tests in order to make our design decisions and make sure that what we learned from the prototyping process got translated all the way into the season. Now, my second year, my experience lent more towards being team captain, which is quite a big responsibility, which I'm happy to share with my co-captain Nidhi, because our team is rather large at nearly 100 folks. So part of my team captain responsibilities was adapting to the whole COVID-19 fiasco. So we have a new safety sub-team, which helps us a lot with that. It has a lot of more protocols for keeping our team safe, and just in general, making sure that we have the structure we require. It also had a increased focus on sustainability. A lot of teams, I think, realized how precarious our situation can be in the case of some kind of pandemic or, a large issue. And so in the face of that and with that realization, I helped develop a team and a CAM curriculum system, which allows us to standardize everything we've got there. Again, it's a lot of servant-based leadership, the idea that you're leaving a legacy for those after you and making sure that you keep care and protection for the team as a whole. We also tried to make more team unity. So what that meant was creating a first-year mentorship program for our first-year students. We call it the Big Cougar, Little Cougar program, and it allows a lot of younger kids to find their way both like socially and knowledge-wise in what is a very big team. So aside from just robotics experience, other STEM leadership experience I have is that I've managed a social media feed for Education First during their technology summit. So I would manage a lot of the content and interview a lot of the different panelists at that particular event. And I think that leadership experience mainly gave me a lot of understanding of what it means to represent a brand, and also what it means to have a lot of responsibility and expectations. And I think that young women often struggle with that, and being able to have an experience where responsibility was placed and where you had to really trust yourself and make split-second decisions was useful in what I was able to grow into later on. The next internship that I worked with was a microbiology internship up at Smith College in Massachusetts, where I would help a professor analyze and identify soil bacteria for their antibiotic properties. So in there, I was using a lot of stuff that I just didn't know how to use. To give you guys context, I'm a mechanical kid. So I would be working with metal, with screws. I really didn't know that much about biology until I got there. And so what I realized was that I could still use a lot of the skills that I learned in mech with biology, with this new machinery, with all of this new information that's just kind of piling in. And so I think the main takeaway from that is that the leadership skills that you have and the general knowledge skills you have from one place can translate into a whole other field. So if you're looking at being able to make that kind of translation and want advice, feel free to ask questions later on in the panel. And then finally, in terms of other STEM leadership experience, this past summer, I took on an internship at our very own New Jersey Institute of Technology. And so I studied Neuro Fuzzy AI, which is pretty much like regular AI, except instead of using binary logic, where you'd have like a statement and true would be 1 and false would be 0, you have multiple degrees of truth. Basically, you can handle a lot of vague information. But I studied how it was applied to cybersecurity, and again, it was something that I didn't really have a lot of background on, but being able to move from one field to the other ended up allowing myself to grow as a leader in both of the fields. So later on this year, I'm really hoping to be able to code my own network, so I'm really excited for that. All right, so this isn't just about leadership, right? We're also here to talk about being a woman specifically in leadership. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about that from the lens of 1403, because we've redoubled our commitment to helping young women cultivate a lot of the tech and a lot of the leadership skills they're going to need to succeed. So we did this through 2 new initiatives that we started this year. One, our Women in STEM freshman orientation. So for this event, we have all of the freshman women in our school come in. Sorry, not all the freshman women, but all the freshman women who want to sign up come in, talk to a lot of our robotics captains, and just be walked through what it's like to be pursuing STEM throughout high school. So opportunities, clubs, and they could pretty much ask any kind of question. A little bit similar to this panel. Then we also have what I'm really, really excited for, which is our Women's Technical Nights. And what these are is a series of 5 different nights, bi-weekly pretty much. And for 2 hours, a female captain in a particular discipline will teach about her field. And so our main goal here was not only to create, female-centered unity, but also to be able to address that gap of knowledge that we realized a lot of young women had, because a lot of young men come into a team where almost everyone looks like them. And so it's really easy for them to find a mentor who can teach them a lot of stuff rapidly. And meanwhile, getting that same mentorship ability is a little harder for women. And so what we wanted to do was to address that by allowing them to learn skills, anything from, programming to CAD, electrical skills, and basic power tools. So if you guys have any questions about what it's like to foster that kind of environment, want advice on how to foster that environment on your own team, anything like that, that's also questions that I'd be really happy to answer later on in the panel. All right, so next is my awesome co-captain, Nidhi Murthy.
Hi everyone. So as Alice said, my name is Nidhi Murthy and I'm also a senior at Montgomery High School in New Jersey. And I am the co-captain, along with Alice, of Team 1403 Cougar Robotics. So I wanted to start off with my leadership experience on Team 1403. But before that, I wanted to say that I never imagined that I would go into robotics, being that I was always interested in business. But as our corporate world is becoming more and more digitized, I decided to do something different and join the team. So I joined the business communications sub-team of our team in my sophomore year. And I was immediately interested and got firsthand experience in working on business plans, managing websites, social media, and more. So in my junior year, I also took on a managerial role as Alice did. And as Alice mentioned, she was the robot manager, which covered 1/2 of our team. And I was the logistics manager, which covered the second half. Here I had a lot more responsibility and had to deal with a good amount of challenges. But I focused on my work, overseeing the team, the logistics side of the team, and my own responsibilities, and I was able to combat them. One of my main responsibilities was chairman's, and such as organizing the essay, presentation, binder, and video. I also organized documentation and standards throughout the entire season from all of the sub-teams. Due to my huge increase in responsibilities I took on as a manager, especially in chairman's, I had many stressful moments. Yet my team became my family, and the amount I learned content-wise and also as a person, responsibility-wise and leadership skills made it all worth it and caused me to apply for team captain this year. So as team captain, my responsibilities increased even more as I currently oversee the 100+ person team along with Alice. As Alice mentioned, we've introduced multiple programs and have presented at many occasions in the past couple months. Throughout my past 3 years on the team, I like to believe that I have experienced a sense of corporate life and responsibility. In fact, one of our mentors always says that our team operates as a small business with no revenue. In addition to being a member of FRC, I mentor 2 FLL teams. It has been a fulfilling experience helping these students throughout their endeavors on their teams and fostering learning and a passion for STEM. At their Boro Blast competition, I was honored to receive the Outstanding Youth Mentor Award. Outside of the team, I continued my learning of business and technology through an entrepreneurship and AI internship. Here I learned a lot of teamwork skills as I developed a detailed business plan for a prospective travel app. In addition, I learned even more about responsibility from the work I had to do for the company, such as researching and generating content regarding startup analysis, and I was honored to receive a presidential award for doing so. Throughout my experiences working in a team environment and as a leader, I have faced obstacles like anyone could imagine, and including those of being a woman in a field where they're, again, as Alice mentioned, male-dominated. However, I believe strongly that if you have a true passion and an interest is instilled, it is worth dealing with and getting past those obstacles, and I strive to continue to do so. So speaking of instilling this passion in women, we on Team 1403 believe that this passion needs to be instilled from a young age through our FLL programs and also as high school students. So for the past 3 years, we have been running a Women in STEM panel event, and we've done around 5 events at our kickoff and at our Montgomery district event. Here we have professionals from multiple STEM fields come and speak to our students and students from many FRC teams about their experiences and their journeys. We hope to inspire young female students by showing them the wide variety of opportunities a STEM career has to offer, and again, as I mentioned before, instilling that that if they have a passion, they should continue through with it and not be overwhelmed by how the fields can be male-dominated.
All right. Hi, everyone. How's it going? My name is Shweta. I am a mechanical design lead on FRC 2135. So, a little bit about my team. We're called Presentation Invasion. We're from Presentation High School in San Jose, California. It's an all-girls school and an all-girls team, so I might have a slightly different perspective on what it's like as a leader. So, feel free to ask me about that. Another thing about our team is that we're very focused on student-driven leadership. We have great mentors for, guidance and safety and other things, but many of the day-to-day decisions and activities are run by students, which makes sense because it's kind of part of our mission to create a space for girls in leadership. So like I mentioned, I'm a mechanical design lead. So I'll talk a little bit about my responsibilities there. In general, on the team, I help run team meetings and activities. I help make decisions about, everything from logistics to team goals. We work together as a leadership team from all different sub-teams to kind of come together and make these decisions. And also sometimes I get to represent the team at outreach or publicity events. And as a design lead specifically, we usually have the leads work with newer members of the sub team to kind of teach them and guide them throughout the season. So that would be one of my responsibilities as well. So now for team experience, first of all, I'm a junior, so this is my third year on the team. Freshman year, I worked in manufacturing since that's where we usually have all our new members start off to gain some experience. I helped run our new CNC mill for a while, and the rest of the season, I basically just generally helped with prototyping and fabrication and assembly of the robot. And then in sophomore year, I got to specialize in mechanical design. I helped design the drivetrain, and I basically spent the rest of the season, so most of my time, designing and running tests on the shooter mechanism for our robot. And along the way, I got a lot of opportunities to work with newer members. I also helped a little bit with the tool certification process that we do in the beginning of the year. So I kind of helped train newer members on that. And basically, I just spent a lot of time at robotics last year. Um, Now, in terms of competition experience, last year I got to help a few new members with the pit scouting process. For most of the competitions I've been to, I've basically worked with scouting and in the pits. And then our last off-season competition, which was almost exactly a year ago, actually, I got to be human player, which is a great experience, a really good learning experience. And I was supposed to be human player at our regional competition for 2020, which unfortunately didn't happen. But yeah, so some other activities, some other things I do. I've been volunteering with WRRF a lot recently. If you don't know, it stands for Western Regional Robotics Forum. It's an organization that runs a lot of FIRST and robotics related workshop series and events and things like that. So I've been on the planning committee for the fall and upcoming winter workshops, and that's how I spent a lot of my summer and even some of the spring. I run their social media, and I basically the bulk of my work is in coordinating presenters and sessions. I also gave an intro to design workshop at the fall one, and I also was a part of the planning group for Cal Games this year, which is run by WRF as well. That's an off-season competition that they converted into a kind of virtual awards event for this year. And at school, I am the communications director for our Women in Computer Science Club, so that kind of fits with our theme here. I think it's really important as a girls' school to encourage more girls in STEM. So I joined that, and I wanted to kind of have more of a leadership role there. So basically, I am in charge of communicating with the students of the club and kind of being the link between our leadership and the members of the club. And I also do speech and debate. There's a picture of me looking really serious giving a speech. That's just something fun that I do that's helped me a lot with, public speaking. I'm also production captain for my Bollywood dance team at school, which is a different type of leadership, but equally fun. So yeah, that's me. I'll pass it on to Cassie now.
Hello, my name's Cassie, or Cassandra, and so I'm on FRC Team 4575, the Tinmans, from just outside the Philadelphia area, not quite in the actual county itself, but it's in the Pennsylvania area. But the way I got started in robotics actually was through First Lego League. So in 2015, I went to an open house at my robotics team. And I was the age for FLL. I was in 5th grade. So I started FLL and I loved it. I got to build things, and I was one of the people that got to stand at the table and push the buttons to make the robot go. So that was the coolest thing in the world to me. It was great. And I loved it. And actually the head coach of the high school team of the FRC team was like, hey, this kid is doing pretty well in FLL. Let's see if they want to do FRC. And obviously I was like, oh my god, I get to use a drill. Like, this is gonna be the coolest thing in the world. So of course I said yes. Then they learned I was in 5th grade, but that's okay. So I started in FRC also in 2015 on 4575 of the Tin Mints. And we are actually a Girl Scout team. So we're a community team. So we take kids from all over the area. We have people from New Jersey that come to our team meetings sometimes. So it's really interesting to get a lot of different opinions and a lot of different ideas from people, and you don't just see the people every day at school. So that's really exciting. And another interesting thing about my team is that you've heard from a team of 100 people, which is literally the largest team that I've ever heard of. And you've heard from, a medium-sized team. My team has 8 people on it. Some of you guys might be saying, how do they do anything? Oh my god. And some of you guys are like, how do I get 8 people? I have like 3 people on my team. Whoever you are, I can probably answer a lot of your questions when we get to that part. But my team has done a lot of really cool things, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But after I started first robotics competition, I actually started mentoring the next year. So I loved FLL. Favorite thing in the world. Great. But then I wanted to mentor the kids. I wanted to show them how to program, like how to actually use a color sensor and make a line follower. So I've mentored 12 First LEGO League teams. It's one of my favorite things to do. So that would be FLL and FLL junior teams, or currently now it's First LEGO League Challenge, Explore, and Discover. So I've mentored all of them. This is one of my favorite things to do actually in robotics. Then in 2017, I became the driver. So that means, I get to drive the robot. I have, head coach, the human player, the operator. I'm on the drive team. I get to drive around the robot. A ton of fun. But I wanted to do more on the team, more than just drive the robot. I wanted to lead the team. So I asked if I could be captain. And then the next year, I became the captain of my robotics team. So I became the captain of my robotics team, helped my team end up winning chairmans and EI and really cool awards and fun things like that, but also ran an event called Robotstock. And some of you guys might have not heard of it before, but if you're from FMA, which is First Mid-Atlantic, which is the district I'm in, you've probably heard of it. Robotstock was an event that introduced 4,000 people to FIRST Robotics. And this is something that a team of 8 people ran. And it was all led by girls. It was a female-led event with 8 people on our team and a bunch of super awesome mentors. So one thing I really do want to get across is that it doesn't matter how many people you have. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter what gender they are, or really anything about that at all. As long as they're super motivated and dedicated and they want to do cool stuff, you guys can do it. I know that might sound really hard to do it with just a few people, but it's one of the things I really want to get across. But yeah, that's everything that I have. And back over to you, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you so much. So these are our amazing panelists. So they have talked a great deal about their own experiences, and I think that everybody here can learn a lot from them. Right now, I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you have anything that you want to ask these amazing leaders, please put them in the chat, and I will read them off to you. Right now, we have some team Instagrams and contact information if you want to get in touch with any of these people. For now, though, I do have some questions of my own, if you don't mind me asking. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat so I can read them. But to all of you, what are the challenges of being a female lead on your team?
Well, I would say one thing, especially since I'm from an all-girls team, it's kind of expected that the team captain would be a female. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the other teams expect that as well. So one thing, especially as the driver on my team, I'm the one that makes the scouting plans or the plans for the matches and things like that. And so the other teams don't necessarily want to hear what you have to say about what your robot does. So while it might not be as hard to be a leader on my team personally, interacting with other teams and maybe being shorter than them, or just being a female, or being younger than them, you have to learn a lot of confidence. And by having that confidence, people are just like, yes, she is right. She knows what she's doing, even if I don't understand what she's talking about. She's got a lot of confidence. She can do it.
I think Nidhi and I have an completely different experience. We come from a very large and co-ed team, so in general, I think the number one difficulty of being on a team where, in your specific sub team of say 10 to 14 people, you might be the only female, is initially loneliness. Which probably sounds really funny because you'd think like, oh, there must be some kind of like tragic discrimination story or something, but no, not really. The one thing is, oftentimes there's not a female captain to look up to, or there's a group of friends where like all the guys have known each other since like fourth grade, and they all decided they wanted to do robotics together, and you're the only person from your friend group to have decided to do robotics, and no one. And so I think one of the main things for keeping women in robotics and for facing that challenge, especially when you're dealing with co-ed teams, is that you need to have that camaraderie amongst women, and you need to have camaraderie for the entire team. That way, no matter where someone comes from in life, they can still really feel like they're part of something. And once they feel like they're part of something, all of their talents come shining out. And I think, inclusivity leads to the best ideas and to the best bod.
Yeah, I agree with what Alice said completely. And I also, as I mentioned before, I think that our team really values like being like really truly passionate and working really hard. So that's kind of what we want to do throughout all the things, like all the different programs that we introduce, like the tech nights and things like that. We just really try to instill that passion, because like being on like alone on your sub team, that kind of loneliness could cause you to kind of like not really develop that interest. So that's kind of what our main push is. And I think when you have it, you can get past your obstacles and get to your position.
Yeah, for me, I would say, being on an all-girls team, obviously I don't really have to deal with that kind of loneliness of being the only female leader. But and I haven't really had any negative experiences with that at all yet. But at the same time, like, there's always a little apprehension that I have, like, of what my future will be like when I'm out of this girls' environment. Am I going to have to face these experiences when I'm in college or in the workplace? How is leadership going to be different for me, and am I ready to face that? So I think those thoughts are always there. But my strategy to go about that right now is to just kind of focus on building basic leadership skills, building the basic confidence that you need to be a leader. Just focus on doing what I love, which is building robots, and just try to keep going with it, carry that on to my future in whatever way. And, we'll see what changes the year has. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on my team and building the skills that I have right now, and hopefully apply that later in life.
That's great. Thank you. Speaking of building skills and confidence, we have a question in the chat asking about tips for gaining more self-confidence.
So actually, what helped with me, my robotics team does a ton of outreach. And basically what they did was they brought me to an outreach event and kind of just shoved me out there and said, hey, explain what we do, just kind of go for it. And I'm like, I don't know any of these people. You want me to just talk to them? They're like, yeah, just, we believe in you. We're back here if you need us. So I just kind of had to talk to random people. I'm like, hey, look, we built robots. And they were so nice. Oh my goodness, people at outreach events are the nicest people in the world. And so honestly, just talking to random people about what we do and saying, it's kind of just like saying how awesome our team was, really helped me a lot. That led to me doing a lot of judging practice and talking to judges, which helped my self-confidence and helped me do judging better. Helps me do panels better and things like that. So definitely just kind of talk to random people you don't know. That might sound really weird, but that's what helped me.
Personally, I'd say self-market. I know it sounds a little strange, especially you think, oh, well, you're putting the cart before the horse, right? Like, first you get the confidence and then you market yourself. But honestly, I think the best way to approach it is the other way around. Because when you have to start thinking of yourself as, this person of some set of experiences, of some set of skills, you have to convince other people, like, hey, all of my experiences, all of what I've done, and all of who I am is perfect for your internship or perfect for your leadership position or that kind of thing. Once you start seeing yourself through those eyes, you're able to get more confidence in yourself. And so, I think it's like an old adage to be like, fake it till you make it, but act like you've got it already, like you've got that confidence, that you're like this perfect person. Act like that, see yourself through that lens, and you might not feel at the moment and you might feel like an imposter for a little bit, but soon you'll be able to develop your own confidence in the stuff you're saying. So don't think it first and then say it, and eventually you'll think it.
I would
Yeah,
say that. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. I would say one thing. I would probably want to tell my past self a little bit is that you don't really need to be perfect in everything to prove that you deserve a spot on the team. I think one of the most important things that I have to learn was to speak even if I was unsure. Sometimes mentors or leaders or something would ask me a question, and I was always searching for the perfect answer in my head, and sometimes I would just kind of pause there and not answer the question. And that kind of came in between my ability to communicate my ideas. And I knew that I really had to that if I wanted to take on a leadership role. So I would just say, even if you make mistakes are not super knowledge specific concept, you still deserve to be heard, and you should know your worth. And I think that help you a lot when you're thinking about self-confidence.
Yeah, I think I agree with what everyone has said, and I think that for me that was definitely an issue because we do have a really, really big team, and I was kind of shy in the beginning because I didn't really know anyone. But I think you just really need to talk to others about things, even if you, as Shweta said, even if you don't know exactly what exactly the entire thing, just still start talking and communicate and develop those connections, and then your confidence will start improving over time.
Thank you so much for that great advice, and thank you so much for you audience members asking that question. I would also like to ask, how can others inspire other females to become leads on their team?
Honestly, what I would say is that almost everyone is going to want the chance. They're just not gonna be sure if they're worthy of it. So if you want to inspire the other women on your team, arm them with the skills they'll need to do leadership. So they might be like, oh, well, I've got these great ideas, but I don't think, I have enough mech skills to lead the mechanical team or something like that. And so I think being able to have those concrete skills, making sure that they don't feel like, oh, I'm a leader, but I don't know enough of the technical knowledge to be a leader. And making sure they don't have to deal with that imposter syndrome is probably one of the best things you can do to make sure that not only do they take the chance and apply for leadership and try to become that student leader, but that they can actually thrive there. And by thriving there, show that it's possible for all of the girls that come after them.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was definitely one of the greatest answers I've heard to a question. But another thing that I usually think of is that maybe they don't know what being a leader can be like. Like, what are the opportunities as being a leader? So, one of the things that I would say is just it's one of those things where it's like lead by example. Show them how fun it is to be the leader and how, show them that you're just like a nice, normal person. Another thing is, but just show them what they can be. And as Alice said, show them what they already have inside of them to be the leader. Give them that confidence. Give them those skills that you're going to need as a leader, and they're going to want to be like you. You're going to be their role model, and they're going to just want to be a leader like you.
Yeah, I would. That's a good answer. I would also add that there is definitely of having the skills that you need to before taking on the leadership position. I also think that a really big part of leadership is just a basic willingness to learn and be receptive to criticism and new knowledge at all times. So I think just make it clear to people who are maybe pursuing leadership that, again, they don't have to be perfect, they don't have to know everything. As long as you have a commitment to learning, then they're still worthy of a spot on leadership. They still have things that they can contribute.
I think that they all three of them really nailed it with all of those answers. And I think that for me, it was like having those kind of role models as like upperclassmen in leadership roles, and like their kind of advice and stuff really helped me to feel more comfortable to apply and become a leader. So I would definitely agree with everything they said.
That's great advice. Thank you guys. In terms of developing like the skills that you have and the technical skills that you were suggesting to inspire in other people around you, what resources do you use to develop those skills?
I would say one, anytime the resource can be a person instead of a book, you're going to learn so much more. And I think that's one of the nice things about FRC is that you've got a bunch of people that are, in the best way possible robotics nerds. And they're going to be so happy to talk to you about your specific or their specific sub team, their specific area of expertise. So, if you want to talk to people in pits about what they do, or go to a workshop where someone who's maybe been doing like Swerve for 2 years is going to explain the whole thing to you. Always you'll be able to learn so much more from a person who's telling you things, and someone who's willing to mentor you and let you ask those questions that experienced people don't always realize the gaps in your knowledge. And so someone who's willing to let you ask the not so stupid questions was such an amazing experience. If you don't have that, YouTube videos are probably the next best thing. There's all of those playlists full of CAD lessons and basic machinery tutorials, all of that. And then finally, you know, if you've got some papers, I know the Compass Alliance has some resources it's working on, and then there's a whole lot of stuff online by a variety of different teams that are really happy to share their knowledge. Any of those, and probably in that order, would be a really awesome opportunity for you.
Yeah, so I definitely agree that people are the best resource because you can just, as soon as you have a question, you can just ask it and they'll answer. If you don't have a person like in your immediate area that you can ask a question to, another great thing is the internet, and not just looking things up, like going out and finding real people who would know the answer. So I don't know if all of you know about this, but Chief Delphi is a website that's specifically for FIRST Robotics, but there's some super awesome people on there who can answer all your questions, and even things that have nothing to do with robotics. Trust me, they're nerds. They like talking about what they do. So definitely I would say talk to real people. They answer your questions the best. And it's not super complicated to talk to them. You know, you don't have to learn all this crazy vocabulary that's in some website that you found that you have no idea what it means.
Great. Okay. I do have some more questions for you guys. I would like to say though that we will probably wrap up around 4:50ish, 4:55ish. So we have about 10 minutes left. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat now. That would be great so that we can answer them before we run out of time. Another question for you guys would be, what skills would you suggest a younger woman in STEM to learn?
Number one, I would say the skill to be like, you know, I am speaking. I already know that. I will not like tolerate being spoken to this way. That kind of thing. I think there's oftentimes difficulty with, you know, being firm with someone, because you always really, 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 really want to be the nice person. But you can be the nice person while also respecting yourself and setting boundaries. So I think in terms of soft skills, that's the one that people tend to neglect and which could really benefit from learning on early in life. And then in terms of more like hard skills, I'd say learn to do anything that you can on a computer because, you know, mech skills are really awesome, but you might only be able to do them in a workshop, right? Electrical skills are really awesome, but electrical equipment is really expensive. But stuff like prog, to some extent CAD, you can do them anywhere, you can practice them anywhere. And so I think a lot of women, you realize, and what I wish I could tell my past self is, you know, like as you grow older, no matter what you're studying right now, being able to have something that you can practice all the time in which you can apply to a lot of different fields, to a lot of different opportunities is always nice to have in the back of your pocket. So even if you're, you know, on a mech team, on an electrical team, you know, or even on something more like a business team, always have a technical computer, pretty much, I guess, for lack of a better word, portable skill in your back pocket because your future self might thank you later when that opens a lot of doors for you.
Yeah, so I would definitely agree with pretty much exactly what Alice said. Especially the knowing your like self-worth and having self-confidence and being like, no, I'm not going to let you interrupt me. I'm kind of in the middle of talking. Hold on. Just being able to do something like that is super valuable, not only in, you know, the robotics world, but also in you know, the workplace and things like that. But another thing I would say is, in terms of skills, try a little bit of everything on your team. Try a little bit of programming. Try some mechanical. Do some business. trust me, I'm not a huge fan of writing essays, but just try a little bit of it and see if you really like it, and then try and learn the skills that'll help you, maybe help some people that are in that. Even if you're not in, say you're in the mechanical sub team and you try a little bit of electrical, maybe you can help somebody with stripping wires or whatever sometime down the line. But learn a little bit about everything and learn just a few skills in everything because it'll help you out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I totally agree with what you two said. It was articulated a lot of what I was thinking. So, yeah, another thing I would add to that is, just like Cassie was saying, definitely branch out, try new things. That's the way that you accumulate as many of the skills as possible. And it doesn't even have to be really technical. If your leadership and tasks are being delegated, things like that, like try out something new. If you don't usually for us, like we have people running different meetings, especially when we're virtual. We have different leadership members like kind of assigned to each meeting. If you haven't done one, if you're kind of nervous about like speaking to a group, just try it out, because that's how you can get a taste of each skills, kind of gauge what you like, and also learn a lot from it in the process. So I think, yeah, those were really good answers, and I totally agree. Definitely just basically have that willingness to try, learn again, and that's the best way you're going to develop skills.
Okay, great. So a lot of you have leadership positions as captains or technical leads. So what parts of your journey to become or reach this leadership position have shaped you the most?
I'd say being wrong and making a lot of mistakes. I think a lot of people see that the road to captainship is sort of like, oh, you must be like the never wrong epitome of technical knowledge, like just got on there and knew what you were doing kind of person. And I really wish I could go and tell someone, like, you can you have room for error as long as you know to learn from it. Um, I think what gave me the most humility and also confidence in myself was to be able to realize, oh my gosh, like we've put so much work into this or something like that, and I've made a mistake and I think I might have wrecked it all. And then realize, okay, I need to take responsibility for this. I need to fix it. I can ask other people for help in fixing this. Um, but once I'm through with this, I will have learned so much from this failure. And so I think the defining characteristic there is making mistakes on the way. And so if you're someone who, feels like at this point they might not be able to do leadership, or feels like they have to be perfect in order to be worthy of the leadership spots, try to let go of that. Try to like forgive yourself, because as long as you have a learning mentality, all of those failures are going to teach you the lessons that are going to make you an amazing leader.
Yeah.
And,
Also, speaking of,
no, go ahead.
Speaking of the learning mentality, I think that's probably one of like the most important things. And I think like for me, it was just because I like the more you get invested, like the more you get interested, and the more you like truly feel like I want to have a leadership position. So it's all about like recognizing the opportunities that are like available to you, and kind of going the extra mile to really like take those opportunities and do extra work and that type of thing. Like as they mentioned, as I think a couple of you guys mentioned before, like kind of doing a little bit of everything. So sort of like get involved with things that aren't traditionally like part of that path. And the more you do that, the more interest you'll get, and then that will just lead you up to like really truly having the passion and the interest to have that leadership position and to do all of the work that comes with it.
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but in previous years, I think I can pick out so many particular instances in my mind where I was asked a question and I didn't answer. I knew the answer, but I didn't answer because I was kind of overthinking in my mind, or I had an idea, but I didn't say it because I wasn't sure of the perfect idea. And it was a good idea. It was a valid idea, and I should have said it. And then I felt like embarrassed after because I had the chance to say that and I didn't do it. So I think that was a really big issue for me, especially the first year. And when I realized that, I was really passionate about this team and I wanted to commit to it, I realized that I had to overcome that, like, no matter what. It was just something I had to do in order to be effective on the leadership team. So I started kind of consciously working on speaking up and saying what I wanted to say, no matter whether I was, apprehensive about the end result. So I think that's really changed me a lot in that I kind of go for it. Like, I don't overthink as much anymore, and it's really a big relief because you don't have to think that much about what you're going to say and whether it's going to be the perfect end result. So I think it's really helped me in being more effective with my communication and putting my ideas out there no matter what. And I've even seen a change in, like, I participate more in school and, like, just in my general life. I'm not afraid to tell people what I'm thinking. So that's probably been the most impactful thing for me, and it's one of the most important things that I've learned through robotics, probably.
Cassie, do you want to answer the question, or should I keep going?
Oh,
Because I think we
no,
have time for one more.
yeah, no, they answered it really well. I didn't have anything to add, actually.
Awesome. Okay, well, we have one last question from the chat. What is the most important piece of advice you have received?
My mentor always tells us don't apologize, and that's not to say, like, be a jerk. It just means apologize for being there. You're not taking up space. You don't apologize for your contribution. Don't be like, oh, sorry, I talked too much or I got too excited. That's not a bad thing. So there's really nothing to be sorry about. And I think a lot of girls need to realize that, you know, just do what you're there to do, and don't be about it because your contributions are important, and it goes back to that idea of self-worth. So I think getting that advice, especially on a girls' team, is so important because you see girls apologizing so much for things that are not mistakes. So probably one of the most, it's a small piece of advice, but it can be very impactful.
Yeah, one thing that I would say, I think I said it earlier too, is try everything. Because, a lot of times when you see females on a team, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but you'll see them mainly in the business area or up in the stand scouting. And maybe they're there because they know, hey, I like social media. No, I've never, used a drill. No, I've never actually done anything with wires before. But that's because they never got a chance to do it. You don't know. You might end up loving electrical or programming or CAD or whatever. Just that's one thing that our team really likes to, I guess, embody is make sure that everyone tries everything, because you'll never know if you like something without trying it. And you never know, it might end up becoming your job and becoming something that you really love to do every day.
I think for
one of the Nidhi, do you want to go or should I go?
you could go.
Alright. I think one of my the pieces of advice I've received that stuck the most in my mind is one that our mentor Mr. Leitch gives us pretty much every year, which is I'd rather you ask like a million stupid questions or stupid questions than make one silly mistake on the actual machine or on anything you're doing. And I think it's important not just because it's a safety thing, but also because oftentimes I think there's a lot of this need that you need to ask the smartest questions, and you need to be on top of everything, especially if you're a woman and you're afraid that you've only got one shot at representing yourself and that shot has to be perfect. Asking any kind of question is going to help you so much. And sometimes it has to be the really, really basic questions. Like, one of my things that I like telling people is if you don't know what you should be asking, ask about that. So, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I feel like I should know a little more, but I don't know where it is that I'm lacking skills. Because again, you need a little bit of foresight to understand where you have gaps in your knowledge. So maybe ask, okay, when you were my age or when you were at the spot where I am now, what do you wish you had known? What questions do you wish you had asked? Even those base level questions. And then I think that advice was not only important to me because it helps me when I'm in a more junior position and I'm learning from someone else or I'm in a new learning environment, but it also keeps me in check when I'm in like a senior position and I'm teaching other people something. Because, being a woman in leadership isn't just getting to leadership, but it's also being a good leader once you're there. And I think the idea of, the importance of all of those silly questions is just as important when you're teaching, because everyone you're talking to probably has a silly question that they're dying to ask but afraid to ask. And as a leader, it's so important and so impactful to be able to say, hey, do you have any question that you're embarrassed about asking and do you want to talk to me about it? And so being able to be that person that lets people grow to their full potential, even in the face of embarrassment, is something that I've always held close to heart. And I think that advice really embodied for me.
Yeah, I'll just keep it really short because I know that we're running low on time. But mine would just be that don't be afraid to deviate from the norm. Like whether that be me because I'm interested in business and technology, which is not your common robotics like type thing you think about, and also being a girl in a position. Don't be afraid to just deviate and do your own thing and just not follow that norm path.
Great, thank you so much. So thank you to all of our amazing panelists here today who provided some really valuable information. I think I learned a lot today. I hope you learned a lot today. Please make sure to come back tomorrow if you want to see more of our presentations for Capital City Classic. And thank you, everybody, and I hope you do well on your journeys in leadership.